It is the year 1078. The conqueror of the English, William of Normandy, has established himself firmly on the throne, and yet he fought the native lords repeatedly to gain their fealty. Duke Morcar of York was the first to rise against his new sovereign, and was harshly put down and diminished in status. His former vassal, Osulf of Bambur, was raised to the rank of duke, assuring his loyalty for the time being. Across the border, the King of the Scots, Duncan, is caught in a many-sided civil war to replace him, with Princess Gruach the surprising frontrunner. In the greater realm of Christendom, the Kaiser of the Roman Empire is growing increasingly disgruntled at the Pope's independence, and in the Holy Land, the Fatimids' growing power may incite a response from the Christian lords of Europe. I am Osulf of Bambur, Duke of Northumberland by the grace of King William the Bastard, conqueror of the Anglo-Saxons, and my noble liege. In the 2 decades since his ascension to the throne, I have served him loyally as his servant and vassal. When I was but a count, my liege lord Duke Morcar of York foolishly resisted his rule and was forced to submit the title of Northumberland to the king, who in turn presented me with the honour. I wear it proudly, but also with humility, as befits a true Christian lord. In my climb to my dukedom, I have lost 2 of my closest family to the grave. Siward, whose silver tongue had protected me from charges of treason during Morcar's rebellion, and Haldan, my brother, who had stood by me in good times and bad, struck down before he could see the birth of his daughter. Siward's remains have been reinterred in the family crypt beneath Bamburgh Castle, alongside Haldan and my father Adolf. I visit them often, pondering the future of the family line down in the dark, damp vaults. My wife has borne me 3 beautiful daughters who are the most treasured jewels in my life, and yet they could be the end of the Bamburgh line, unless I have a son to carry on my name. When I received the news of Siward's passing, I swore the Bamburgh line would not be lost to history, and I will commit any sin, break any vow, to ensure that is so. My scouts reported to me daily from the border, watchful for any armed groups passing into my territory. The land of the Scots was still in turmoil, squabbling over who called themselves king, and I could not allow the fighting to spill over into the lands I ruled. The Watchers also provided me with the rumours and hearsay concerning my kinsman, Adolf, who was caught in the chaos. I would not sit idly by if my cousin was in danger. In an attempt to smooth over any ill will Morcar may have held for me taking his title, I organised a hunting trip for the both of us in one of my forests. We made good sport, the hounds fetching several plump pheasants, and our retainers were keeping us well provided with wine. I admit it was difficult to adjust to speaking to my former liege like this, but as the hunt continued and the wine flowed, the old barriers between us broke down, and we conversed as equals. God be good, Morcar was actually pleasant company, a realisation that almost knocked me from my horse. That is, until he casually suggested that a claimant to the throne, Elfwin, might be in the country, searching for loyal vassals to reclaim the throne for the Anglo-Saxons. "Osulf, my friend," he slurred. "Surely you cannot be content under this Norman yoke. The bastard steals treasure and titles from noblemen, and grants them to his feeble followers. Prince Elfwin deserves our fealty." Lord forgive me, I laughed in Morcar's face, my respect for the man vanishing like coin from a trusting man's coffers. Was one defeat not enough of a lesson for you? Good men, my men, died in your last feeble resistance, and you want to attempt another rebellion? I downed the last of my wine, tossing the cup away. You fool, Morcar. Damned pigeons learn faster than you. I turned my horse around, my retinue separating from his, leaving the man fuming in the dust. In the ride back to my hall, I considered how I could fix the succession crisis that loomed over me like a cloud. I loved my true-born daughters dearly, but if my wife was unable to provide a son, I would have to find a woman that could. The king was a famous bastard, and he had risen to greatness. Why should mine do any worse? I did my husbandly duties, for my wife was loyal and kind, and did not deserve how I would have to treat her. But with subtlety, I arranged for the prettiest of the serving wenches to have rooms at the castle itself, to keep them close at hand. It didn't take long for my charms to work, and a young lass from Lindisfarne was the first to assist me in breaking my wedding vows. While the guilt was strong, and I did make confession with Bishop Aethelwine after, it was a thrill. The girl came to me some weeks later, informing me that she was with child. I gave her a stipend to maintain her affairs, her fee for carrying a lord's bastard, But I would not put all my hopes upon one girl. I found another, my skills sharpened after my previous conquest, and soon I had broken my vows again. It was some months later that my master of spies informed me that one of my conquests had produced a healthy child, but alas, it was a girl. There was little worth in denying that the newborn was of my seed. She had my eyes. Also, the mother had irritatingly announced to everyone that I was the father, securing her continued presence at the castle. Githa was obviously not pleased that I had publicly humiliated her in such a way, and I had to promise that it was just one time. "Okay, Githa, my darling, put down the poker." It was after the surgeon left that I chanced upon Lucy Bolingbroke. She had grown to be quite the beauty. I was acquiring a taste for this. It was in the summer of that year that Aethelwine ran into my cell brandishing a message. Apparently, the Emperor of the Romans had grown tired of Roman independence and the Pope's obstinance, and his armies had thrown the Holy Father down the steps of St. Peter's Basilica, installing one of the Kaiser's own, a German who took the name Innocentius II. There was much outrage from the Christian realms surrounding Germany, and quite the fear of what influence the new puppet pope would bring his master. It didn't take long for the princes of the empire to act against their liege, claiming his actions in Rome meant he forfeited his right to rule them. King William joined his ally in crushing the imperial rebels. It was in April 1082 that a group of riders approached the castle, and it was with great joy that I recognised my daughter, Gunhilda, among them. After welcoming them in and providing the retinue with food and drink, they explained that Duke Roger of Kent had passed into the arms of God, and Gunhilda had agitated to return home. Perhaps to try and improve the relationship with my wife, I suggested that Githa take on the girl's education, as she had always wanted. When I heard that the young Lucy had given birth to a son, I thought that my quest for an heir was over. But alas, the fool Samson believes that the child is his. Before I can even consider overriding Samson's word and claiming the boy as my own, Githa presented me with a healthy baby boy of our own. I named him Haldan, after my brother of course, and mused on the twisted humour of the Lord. He had tested me to see if I had the faith to stay true to his laws and my marriage, and I had failed on both accounts. Having a true-born son, after so many ill-begotten daughters and seduced serving wenches, makes his displeasure clear to me. Nevertheless, he has granted me an heir, and I spent the next 2 days at the chapel in prayer. Samson showed his cruel streak today, suggesting that one of the products of my philandering should be, well, he didn't say killed outright, but that was clearly his meaning. I sent him away in disgust. The child was of my blood, and in either case I would not stoop so low as to murder an innocent child. He later returned, something of a glint in his eye, as he presented news that a Norman count had been exposed to be cuckolding me. I marched to Githa's chambers, and she angrily declared that my behaviour was hardly a moral high ground. I stormed out in a rage, and consoled myself by seducing a serving girl. At long last, the Scots were at peace, and what a novelty! The King of Scots was now a Queen of Scots. How that must irritate the proud Scottish lords. In 1085, I was presented with another son, who was named Adolf in honour of my father, long since dead now. He was then followed by twins, a girl and a boy. After trying so long, I was now being overwhelmed with progeny, although the slight doubt that these were the products of Githa's affairs could not be fully banished. After reading my reports of the chaos occurring across the border, my liege decided that the county of Cumberland was rightly part of his realm, both as King of the English and due to my title. The royal armies mustered and crossed the border, my lands being a useful last staging post before hostile territory. With more children than I can really handle in my court, I arranged some politically beneficial marriages, with the most impressive example being the betrothal of my ill-begotten daughter Agatha to the King of the Greeks, Vasilevs Michael. Of course, he will be approaching his 47th year when the marriage takes place, which some might consider something of an age gap. With the war for Cumberland going well, I make my desires known to the kingdom by declaring my interest in acquiring more land. With my legal right to the neighbouring county, it will only be a matter of course for good King William to transfer control to me once the war is won. Speaking of war, the Holy Father, Innocentius II, has declared a crusade against the Fatimid Sultan. All good Christians have been promised salvation for their sins if they take part, and I have committed many in my quest for an heir. Perhaps this is a way to redeem myself in the eyes of the Lord our God. I mustered the soldiers, impounded and requisitioned the trading galleys in my ports, and set sail for the Holy Land, eager to fight and possibly die for the Lord our God. Deus Vult. While I have a lot of troops, they're all light infantry, which, as I've previously stated, are literally garbage on legs. Waldensian is apparently in control of the Christian world. It doesn't really look like it. I think the Germanics are in control of the Christian world.